Hello, everybody. Uh, everybody is. I don't know how many people watch this stream, but I'm saying hi to you anyways. Welcome back to CMSA and our Dungeons and Dragons game. We are starting a new season, a new year, and a new setting. This year we are going to be in Salt Marsh. There's going to be pirate shit. There's going to be explosions, maybe. I don't know. Ghosts? Question mark. Political intrigue. Lots of possibilities, and we'll be here for the whole year. So make sure you keep checking back in. If you have not watched our stream any previous seasons, you are not missing anything. If you're not familiar with CMSA as a whole, we are the largest queer sports nonprofit in the Midwest. Within that world, there is a subsection that is esports, and within that world, there is a smaller subsection that's our little D&D game. So we thank you for joining us. As far as upcoming events, if you are located in Chicago on Friday, February 20th, we will have a meetup at the North End at 7 p.m. for a little platonic speed dating situation. It'll be a great chance to meet other people from the organization, meet other people from the community, maybe make some friends. Maybe there's a spark and it's not platonic, but the goal is come, have a good time, eat some food, have a drink or not, talk to people, etc. And then the very next day, on Saturday, February 21st, we will be having a virtual, I believe, Blood on the Clock Tower game. So if you like intrigue, if you like deception, if you like lying to your friends and enemies and accusing people Salem witch style, it's a great game for you. Come play, come check it out, etc. I think that is it for announcements. So without further ado, let's go to Saltmarsh. It is, as usual, raining in Saltmarsh. Gray skies, sound of birds, breaking waves, and a lot going on under the surface. Saltmarsh is a nondescript fishing village tucked away on the southern coast of the Kingdom of Kaeland. For several generations, Kaeland was a formidable military power located between Waterdeep and Neverwinter. Its superior cavalry and bold knights pushed the kingdom's borders, and each successful campaign increased the crown's wealth and power, and drew the attention further away from Saltmarsh. However, that benign neglect allowed piracy and banditry to flourish. Saltmarsh and similar towns kept to fishing, content to maintain a low profile and avoid governmental entanglements. Decades ago, the pirates who prowled the waters off Saltmarsh grew strong enough to create their own realm, a loose confederacy known as the Hold of the Sea Princes. With the rise of that nation came increased raids on Saltmarsh and its neighbors. The Sea Princes raiding ships pillaged the coast for human slaves to support their growing realm. Saltmarsh suffered heavily, and the memories of those times loom over the area, and the locals' hatred of the Sea Princes runs deep. In time, the military successes of Kaeland gave way to a string of defeats in which its neighbors pushed the kingdom back to its original boundaries. With the world closing in, King Kimberto Scotti looked to the south and saw unchecked banditry and a rising pirate nation. The Crown struck peace treaties with its former foes to the north, raised a navy, and dealt a sharp check to the ambitions of the Sea Princes. But the conflict is by no means over. King Scotti has decreed that the pirates must be put down, the sea lane secured, and trade cultivated. For if Kaoland cannot prosper as a military force, it must grow mightier as a center of trade. Saltmarsh, remote though it might be from the center of power in Kaeland, is entering a new phase of its life as it reacts to the king's plans. The crown's agents want to expand the village's ports, make it a prime location for trade. A band of dwarves bearing a decree from the king himself have arrived and begun to excavate the hills and seaside cliffs near town. And opinions are divided. Not all of Saltmarsh's residents feel the same way about recent developments in and around their community, which is the key issue that affects their lives and livelihoods. And although the recent changes stand to bring new prosperity to the area, many locals are not excited. However, we're not going to get into all of that right off the bat. Instead, we are closing in a little bit narrower focus on one, I guess you could call him odd looking in comparison to the majority of people who reside in Saltmarsh. One odd looking individual who, at the moment, is currently strolling up and down the docks of Saltmarsh on patrol. Brandon, would you please describe your character?
So Gulch is Gulch is the name of my character. He is pretty close to in appearance how you might imagine based on purely his name. He is this lopsided, slightly hunched uh, rock of a man, where his skin might actually be rock. It's dark gray, and he wears armor. Has this rather hefty great club on his back and sort of makes this like lumping, limping, staggering walk up and down the docks. Maybe has like a bad leg slightly. But the thing that everyone in the town knows, and I'm not how to identify him, is the fact that large chunks of his like head and face, and probably going down underneath his clothes, are covered in barnacles that are like deep set into his skin and just growing on the moist sea air. And yeah,
Um,
he is like a staple character that people know in the town.
It took a while for people to adjust, and to be sure, there are still newcomers to Saltmarsh who kind of shrink back in surprise or horror or some combination when they first encounter Gulch. And in addition, each subsequent generation of children has to have that introductory moment of running terrified to their parents, screaming about the rock monster they saw on the street, only to have it explained to them that no, that's just a Janazi. There's not a lot of them around here, but he is fine. He's a member of the town guard. He will not do anything to hurt you. If you're ever in trouble, you can go to him. On this particular day, however, Gulch is striding on patrol next to his ebullient and exuberant partner, Merrick, who I think is probably trying to make conversation with you unsuccessfully, as he usually does.
Hmm.
His attitude is a little more chipper in comparison to yours. He's also a lot newer to the role of town guard, has not been on the scene quite as long, has not seen quite as much as you have. So he's having a great time. It's another beautiful day. It's raining a little bit, but I don't mind that. I think I've lived in other places where it was a little hot and a little dry, and I don't mind the rain. It just makes it so much better at the end of the day when you can like go and like sit by the fire and get a drink.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and like and the breeze is great, like right off the sea, easy peasy. Everything's going fine. No problems today. Like I love a relaxed day.
Like he's just this guy loves to hear his voice probably more than he loves to hear the response from Gulch. To the degree that Gulch gives the slightest like sound of "I am hearing you." I don't know if I'm actually parsing that, because there's no actual information in what you're saying.
Mhm.
Uh, but keeps up with that sort of like bouncing back at him a little bit, even though he's looking at the once again a very dreary day that this man is playing up to be a wonderful little morning shower.
And you have worked with Merrick for at least long enough to have you've kind of mastered that semi awareness of like, oh, I can mostly not focus on him and know exactly when I need to interject with a like affirmative sound to just keep him
Yeah,
talking and distracted.
for sure.
What do you
It's
think?
like a
What's Gulch
little
think?
I was just gonna say it's like having a little like I don't know how to describe it. I had something in my head. Like a wind up toy. Just keep it just barely going.
just limping along. What is clearly the majority of your mental energy is not engaging with Merrick.
No.
What is Gulch thinking about? What's usually on your mind while you're on patrol?
Gulch is he's not stupid, but he just like he's aware he has less of a like depth of knowledge than the average person. And so he doesn't really. I don't think he bothered himself with too many like daydream thoughts of other stuff outside of the town. He's pretty actively focused on just you know uh in his mind looking at the docks, and he's obviously he's walked this place for months, years at this point. He knows down to probably like each like piece of wood, and so if he sees something that's missing, he'll keep that in mind to look into later if it's not like immediately going to endanger someone. Making sure like, oh yeah, there's like Jeremy pulling in the morning fish at the exact same time. Like this is a rote
Jeremy.
repetitive walk that doesn't bore him. You know, it's what his job is. He is just here to do that.
I do
Just
too.
a
I also do
comforting.
unfortunately have
Yeah,
to keep track for my own sanity of the NPCs that you
I'm
introduced.
just
So I got
making shit up.
Jeremy down.
That guy doesn't matter.
Jeremy
Jeremy
is now going to
matters.
play an integral role in this
That's
You
campaign,
have
true.
to
That's
be
and
true.
everyone
Jeremy.
needs to know that.
I'm gonna go looking for
We
Jeremy.
need
Gotta
someone
be
to be in
Jeremy.
danger later.
Don't worry, I got plenty of that in store. Uh, but with that in mind, Jeremy notwithstanding, why don't you go ahead and give me our first roll of the campaign? I will take either perception or investigation just to kind of like get a read on what's going on the docks today.
Not awful. It's like an 11.
Okay, not bad. Uh, yeah, I think that's very representative of like what an average day this is
Mm-hmm.
feeling like. It's not anything out of the ordinary, nothing crazy going on.
Yeah.
There's The docks are expanding as a part of this recent push to have more investment from the crown in Saltmarsh, to have a like increased emphasis on it as a port of trade, to strengthen Kaolin's position, since it can no longer rely on its military prowess. So there's two or three main piers which can accommodate, large sailing ships, the kind of trade ships that are going to be moving long distances, bringing imports from across the sea. There's also a series of smaller docks jutting off that all have, room for more so like fishing boats, local
Mm-hmm.
vessels, maybe smaller ships that are coming from nearer ports of call that are only designed to be on the sea for like a day or two max. So it's a pretty wide range. I would say today is not that busy. It's just kind of, like we said, business as usual. You do see, and I'm gonna throw to someone else for just a quick second. Seth, what's the name of the ship that you're currently on?
The moon mist.
You do see a ship that you recognize from some previous travels, the Moon Mist. It's still a little ways off, maybe a league or two out on the ocean, but it does have some very distinctive iconography on its sails that gives you that insight even from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that might be interesting. Usually, it's one of the larger vessels that's going to be in the area on any
Okay.
given week. So people,
Yeah.
news, trade, um, the crowd, pretty much the usual sort. You have on those smaller piers a lot of local fishermen that you would know by name, or at least by reputation. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
just going about their daily business, coming back. I would say it's probably like 10, 11 a.m. ish. So the earliest risers who have been out attempting to fish since probably like 4 or 5 a.m. are already returning, bringing back whatever they were able to get from Rain's not great for fishing, but also it's kind of raining almost all the time, so that's business as usual.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a reason
Um,
why I have barnacles. It like never stops being wet here.
and truly, they expand day by day. You can almost see them growing. Not quite,
Hmm.
but almost.
Just a little
Um,
bit.
there is what is his name? Horace. Horace is kind of a fixture of the docks, usually some degree of drunk, regardless of time of day. Just sort of like hangs out. He's a little older, probably in his like 60s, salt and pepper beard, has been in Saltmarsh for long enough and has enough established relationships that even though he is not really contributing in any way, he will just hang out on the docks, make conversation. That's usually enough to get him like a fish or two as his meal for the day.
Hmm.
You would know. Actually, give me a history check.
Okay. We'll see if I know anything. 12.
12. The thing Horace is most well known for is about 10 years ago, he visited this house that is purported to be haunted.
Mm.
It's about 4 miles south of Saltmarsh. Used to be the residence of a semi well known alchemist. Has been abandoned for about 20 years now, and just in general has like a bad vibe from the town. People say it's haunted. People say that you go in and never come out. Um, there haven't actually been like you as a town guard would know there haven't really been like disappearances or anything in quite
Hmm.
a while, but it's just one of those places that has a reputation.
Yeah, it's
About
it's like, oh, is it haunted, or are people getting high on like old alchemist fumes and like tripping balls?
yeah, tough to say. The people who have entered and returned, of which Horace is one, have told stories of screams, hauntings, vampires, ghosts, truly unspeakable horrors from the undead. Um, Horace, specifically, about 10 years ago, was known to have was looking in the abandoned kitchens for a drink, saw something terrifying, fled back to Saltmarsh, proceeded to drink for free off of that story for several years, but pretty much everyone's heard it at this
Yeah.
point. So, if prompted, he will still regale newcomers, but he's not getting a lot of mileage out of that story anymore. Um,
That makes sense.
but he's just vibing on the docks, two sheets to the wind. Not causing trouble though. He's
Okay.
not a problem. He's just a fixture.
Yeah. Nod at him as we pass by.
Mm. Hello, Barnacle Man.
Hello, drunkard.
Waves again at you as you
Yeah.
continue on your way. Um, let's see. What's give me what do you think has been the most eventful incident that you have been involved in the last like month or two?
Um, probably. I mean, like we've mentioned, there have been in the past any range of like Sahuagin involvement on trying to take down boats or harass the town. I don't think there was like a massive thing that happened, but I think there was like, oh, there's some sightings in the harbor. We're gonna position up in case something shows up, but there hasn't really been like an actual attack on the town in like a year or two,
Yeah,
unless you
there
know of
is
one that I would need to know about.
right.
Yeah.
to your point, there hasn't really been like large scale organized activity.
Hmm.
The Sahuagin do have a small colony of sorts out in the sea. Um, they're not usually a problem for local vessels. They mostly are a thing that has to be dealt with by these larger trading ships that they attempt to raid. But several years ago, there was actually like every several years, the king will sort of dispatch a force to essentially like beat them down and
Hmm.
diminish their numbers.
As much as you can on the open ocean. Yeah.
And then you get a couple years of like it's a little bit quieter, not really any big problems. The last intervention from the royal forces was about 3 years ago, so you're
Okay.
starting to get a few more of those sightings again,
Yeah.
mostly from just like the odd fisherman who happens to like see them from a distance and reports it to the town guard. You might have like started getting briefings from Eleander, the leader of the town guard. Every couple of years, he's of course really hammering in on like vigilance, vigilance, vigilance. We know they're coming back. We know it's going to be a problem. When you hear anything, bring it to me. We'll start putting pins in the map. When we hit that certain density, we'll reach out to the royal forces and see if we can go ahead and get that intervention going. But for the time being, not anything really big. Um, yeah. So as you walk along the docks, Merrick's still chattering away, especially as you pass by Horace. And I don't mind telling you, that guy's story just gives me the heebie-jeebies. Because, like, I mean, I've never seen a ghost before. I don't know if there was really a ghost, but it sounded like there was a ghost. And, like, I just, and he sort of, like, looks out to the ocean. Like, I'm not really, like, a religious guy, but, when it comes to the supernatural, I think it's just better to, like, cover all your bases. So I'll go put a little offering at the Temple of Kraken every once in a while just to cover my bases. But, like, man, I don't know. Have you ever seen a ghost, Gulch?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean,
Well, that's not super encouraging. I mean, like, what is it maybe even? I mean, like you actually saw one, or like you talked to somebody who saw one, or like there was one in your bedroom, or like what are we talking about here?
I, I mean, the people I killed stayed dead. So, if there were a ghost, it would have been after I left.
Anytime, especially in Saltmarsh where things are not quite as active, you had a previous career as I believe town guard in a larger city.
Yeah, we hadn't looked on the specifics of that. I figured he either had been a when he was younger, like, definitely more active in like Waterdeep or something like that, before he got older and started growing all these barnacles, which are interacting with him in weird ways. But he also might have had like a 5 year stint to earn some money within like the army for any like larger
Yeah.
conflicts, and so he's seen some stuff, but nothing like. I mean, he's not like an adventurer. He hasn't gone to see supernatural. It's been goblins and any like little incursions like that.
No, but definitely like the degree of worldly experience and combat that you have
Yes.
seen compared to Merrick is like leagues
Yeah.
apart. Um
100%.
so anytime you mention anything about killing anybody or battle or anything like that, that's kind of the most surefire way to get him to shut up for a little while.
Hmm.
As he sort of gulps and thinks about that a little too
Yeah.
hard.
I feel like if there's ever a day where he is particularly loud in the morning when Gulch has a hangover, he will be a little exaggerating on what he's seen and done just to get a little bit more quiet out of him.
Absolutely gruesome. And that guy's arm just came
Yeah.
right off.
You ever travel out to the Norrock? I'll show you some fucking violence. I'll tell you what.
I think I think I that sounds. Hey, look over there. Is that Horace?
Doubles back to Horace.
Um, are
Yeah.
you? I don't think you're particularly hungover today, unless you want to be.
No, no,
Um,
no, no. I'm just giving the yeah. That's the sort of thing
but
that would come up.
normal, calm day. You already are thinking towards this evening. When you get off of your shift, you will undoubtedly end up back at the what's it called? The Wicker Goat,
The wick,
which
yeah, Wicker
tends
Goat.
oldest tavern in the town, run by Lenkus Currid, a retired officer of the army. It's very much like the go-to spot for any of the town guard when they are off duty. There are a number of different taverns and pubs that are varying in their degrees of reputation, seediness, etc., all the way from the Wicker Goat at the top, which is town guard. A lot of the new dwarven miners to town tend to frequent it as well. It is easily the most like safe, respectable, maintained of the taverns, all the way down to the Empty Net, which is to
Sheesh.
borrow from Star Wars, since we were talking about that before we went live, a more wretched hive of scum and villainy than you have ever seen. Um,
It's in the
rickety
name. Yeah, it
it
is.
actually extends out onto the water on a very unstable, ramshackle looking structure of like pipes and old pieces of boats, and it's kind of a wonder that it's still there. Um, but that's very much the sort of place that like the town guard doesn't usually go unless they are called there. Problems
Hmm.
happen at the Empty Net. Problems are also usually resolved internally at the Empty Net. Sometimes somebody gets tossed into the ocean. Somebody washes up on shore, but they do keep it pretty contained. Um, so
Yeah,
you're not there though. You're continuing about your day. Does look like the moon mist docking might be the most interesting thing. Um,
yeah. We'll probably like meander in that general direction just to like not obviously we'll still be patrolling for a bit, but so we kind of pass by right as it docks to see if there's anything of note.
Yeah, you're getting close to usually like mid-afternoon, you will complete your rotation, you'll return to the like central guardhouse, have a small break, go back out on your second patrol of the day, and then wrap up in the evening when like kind of the night shift guards are starting. Um,
Hmm.
but as the two of you continue strolling and Merrick has been temporarily shut up, we are going to pan away from here over towards a different part of Saltmarsh. Uh, for both of our viewers and our players, we are moving from down here. If you look at the map, around kind of like 15,
Middle
16
tier.
area, up to, I believe it is number 28 up here, kind of more on the east side of town, to a little store called unceremoniously Winston's Goods, run by Winston. Winston a is known to be somewhat of a retired bandit. He was very active for many years in the Hool Marshes to the north of Saltmarsh, raiding travelers, small time petty stuff for the most part. Did finally like hit it big about a decade ago and was able to acquire enough wealth and goods in that one job to finally open his own business and sort of like go straight, as it were. So none of this has really been confirmed at large for the town guard. They're aware that some stuff maybe went down and that he's maybe a little bit of a shady character, but he's been pretty squeaky clean the whole time he's been in Saltmarsh. and has kept his nose, kept himself above water, nose clean, mixing metaphors, all the stuff, uh, and sells solid goods to those who need them, quote unquote. Uh, However, we are not really focusing on Winston, who is currently behind the counter helping somebody buy some lengths of rope for another expedition. We are instead going to shift our focus to the other individual who is very haphazardly sweeping the store. I think sweeping is maybe even an overstatement, although you can correct me. Anthony, please describe your character.
My character is Kuromu Kettlechip. He is a halfling rogue uh, who was a pirate. He was dared by some of his friends as a child to sleep one night on a ship, and that ship was then stolen by pirates. When he woke up, the cook was found them in the storage hold, um, and instead of going back because they stole the boat, well, you're just part of the life now. Thankfully for an orphan, it doesn't matter as much. No family to go back to. So that's where he got his last name, Kettlechip. It was just his favorite thing. Um, he was with the pirate gang called the Pain Pirates, who was the leader was Captain Payne. He then took Kuromu under his wing, taught him to fight with swords, and really taught him to be a swashbuckler. Since he's a halfling, he was very easy to get in and out in combat. But the pirates were disbanded and in Salt Marsh as their last stop. So now Kuromu has big dreams of starting his own crew. Doesn't necessarily need to be the captain of that crew, but just wants to be back on a ship and back
Yeah.
adventuring.
I
So
do think it's
they,
worth noting the Pain Pirates were Kuromu would not think of them this way. They were a
yeah,
relatively like small scale
yes.
operation, managed for the most part to stay out of the attention of both the Sea Princes and their organized piracy, as well as the Crown. However, after that large scale royal intervention several decades ago, it just got harder and harder to continue operating without drawing unwanted attention from either of those groups, which is what did end up eventually leading to the disbandment and dispersal of the Pain Pirates in Saltmarsh. You do try and, well, Kuromu might not. The majority of the crew attempted to keep a relatively low profile once arriving in Saltmarsh because the attitudes of the residents towards pirates writ large is pretty negative. Um, Most of them found odd jobs, or Saltmarsh was just a temporary port of call on their way to some other ambition or some other livelihood. Kuromu, however, I don't know. How long do you think you were at Saltmarsh before you got this job, and what do you think you were doing?
I think that it was a solid year of just wandering around the streets and um, most likely just post up at the empty nest until I ran into provision. Um,
When you
so he's
go
a
from
little.
hood to piracy, not necessarily known for being an environment with a lot of like structure. Um, Stream and image of a person holding their head as if do 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 do. I don't know what that's about. And I don't know if people could still hear us. John, are you still in the chat? Can you still hear us? Hey, look, now we're back.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. Anyways, yeah,
Yeah.
piracy. Not known for being a super structured environment. Not a lot of rules, moral upbringing necessarily. So makes sense that left to your own devices, you kind of were floundering a little bit.
Yeah.
If the only thing you know how to do is piracy and you're not a pirate anymore, doesn't leave a ton of options.
Mhm.
Do you think that you had any run-ins with like the town guard over that year? Do you think that you like managed to kind of like walk the straight and narrow, or at least not get caught?
I think it's more not got caught. Um, R- Kuroma was kind of a kleptomaniac. Anything shiny is his treasure. Um, to point out from the little character model is he has those Oakley glasses. Um, they were definitely something that was just sitting in a store, and he was like, "I like those. Those are cool." He just kind of
I
took
think
them.
as a result of that, they were never able to necessarily find any evidence or
Yeah.
anything that would lead the town guard to convict you or pursue you in a serious way. But there are a couple of stores around town, like Kester's Leather Goods or the Carpenters Guild Hall, the Dwarven Anvil, where